Did you know that during the Second World War, living pigeons were used inside missiles by the USA for destroying the Nazi Germany? As unbelievable as it sounds, there is a full history behind putting pigeons in the missiles. But first, please subscribe to our channel and hit like, it helps us get you new content. When the US wanted to bomb certain targets in the Nazi Germany, they were looking for a smart way to do it. Sending Air Force was not working because the bombs almost never hit their mark. USA knew that they could turn the tide of this war if they could somehow change the direction of their missiles to hit nothing but the assigned target. What did the USA do then? They used pigeons inside their missiles. The pigeons would peck at the target and guide the missile towards its target, and pigeons were the pilots of missiles, bringing doom to the Nazi Germany. This was called Project Pigeon, and the reality of this project is so much darker than you think. To know more about Project Pigeon, you need to know who B.F. Skinner was. He was a renowned psychologist and behaviorist. This means he studied and researched how different animals and humans behave and think. His best works are on how you can tame animals and humans to do something they don't want to control their minds against their will. In his research, he says that you can control another animal's behavior by offering it rewards and punishments. If you reward a behavior, the animal does it more often in greed of the reward. But if you punish a behavior, the animals never do it again in fear of the punishment. And in psychology terms, this is called operant conditioning. In his library, he regularly did experiments on pigeons and rats to study their operant conditioning. Using rewards and punishments, he would train the animals to do unique stuff. For example, pressing a lever or pushing a button. The animals had to push buttons and press levers to get food, and his experiments were successful because all the animals learned how to do these human tasks. But how did he train the pigeons to be pilots of the missiles? How did the pigeons even turn missiles towards their targets? During World War II, the USA government asked for help from every scientist, engineer, and noticeable profession. The USA military badly needed self-aiming missiles to win the war against the Nazi Germany. So, all the scientists and engineers set to work to figure out a solution, but only Skinner came up with a workable solution. Skinner approached the National Research Defense Committee with his plan, codenamed Project Pigeon. He told them that he could train pigeons as pilots so that the military can put inside their missiles and the pigeons will aim the missiles towards the targets. Members of the committee were very doubtful. They thought it was impossible. But they were badly in need of an aiming missile, so they granted him $25,000 to get started on the crazy pigeon project that he proposed. Skinner had already used pigeons in his experiments. He knew he could train them to push buttons and pull levers. But to train them to pilot a missile? This was a very challenging task. Yet, he was a mad scientist in his field. He was obsessed with the idea of using pigeons for missiles. In a press release, Skinner admitted that he never saw other animals as living creatures. Instead, he saw them as devices that could operate in any way he wanted. According to Skinner, he saw a flock of birds carefully guiding information in the sky, and it gave him the idea to use them as pilots and missiles. After all, the birds were intelligent enough to fly in a formation towards a specific location, but could they guide a missile? Was the answer to World War II right in his own backyard pecking on bread? But why did he use pigeons and not monkeys? Pigeons don't have hands to operate a missile like monkeys, so why? The animal that Skinner needed had to be adaptable to the sky and flying at heights. If he had chosen monkeys, there was a high chance that they might have missed the targets by getting confused in the sky. Besides, monkeys don't have supervision like pigeons. They cannot identify targets from greater distances like pigeons do, and surprisingly, this supervision is the reason pigeons always manage to poop on people that are walking under them. So, pigeons were the best choice for this experiment. It was either Project Pigeon or nothing at all. With pigeons, Skinner gets to work and starts to train them. He collaborated with the military engineers to build a special kind of missile for pigeons. When the engineers did not understand what he really wanted, he took it upon himself to make the missiles. And he was successful at it as well. He built a nose cone for a missile fitted with 3 small electronic screens and 3 tiny pigeon cockpits. Onto the screens was projected an image of the ground in front of the rocket. According to him, the pigeons will stay in the cockpit and look at the projected image. He would train the pigeons to look at the screen and peck on the specific target, and when the pigeon pecks on the target, the missile will turn and aim toward it as well. Eventually, the missile would hit the target and there would be no chance of steering off or away from the targets. But what happened to the pigeons inside the missiles? How much time did he take to train the pigeons? Was it benefiting to put so much on a pigeon? Could the pigeons change the fate of World War II? How much time Skinner took to demonstrate the pigeon project is not explicitly documented, but he did successfully complete it. He had begun the project in the 1940s and had finished it in 1944. It took him 4 years to train the pigeons and make the missiles, and because he was very smart, he did not put aiming to only one pigeon. He made adjustments for 3 pigeons inside the missile, and if all the pigeons pecked at the same target or even 2 of them, the missile would turn in that direction, aiming for that target. But because there was no escape hatch on the missile, the pigeons would also have to perish with their target. This was one of the down points of this project. If it took him 4 years to train the pigeons and countless dollars, then losing them in one attack was not very smart. Yet, Skinner was hopeful that the officials of the USA government would see value in this project and use it for hitting bigger targets. So, he demonstrated the Project Pigeon to them, and it left them speechless. The missiles were aiming where they wanted them to aim, and the pigeons were behind the control. Now, most people say that they accepted the project and used it to destroy Nazi Germany, but historical documents say that they left the project, dropped it, because losing pigeons in one attack was not very smart. According to the officials, this funding could go towards other aspects of the wars instead of one-time attack pigeons. So, what happened afterwards? What did Skinner do? Whether the military would use his missiles or not was never his goal. Skinner's goal was to make the missile with little pigeon pilots who could aim it towards certain targets, and he had succeeded in that, so he was satisfied with himself. He left his designs and pigeons with the military and went back to research on animal behavior. There are no records of US military using the Project Pigeon missiles, and there are reports of missiles that changed their aim unnaturally as if controlled and piloted from inside. The US military is very secretive, and so what happens inside and what they do is always in the shadows. So there's no definite answer to whether they use the missiles. Still, a reasonable thing is to acknowledge that the US military is very resourceful and it had funded a great deal on the Pigeon project. So it makes sense that the military would use the missiles instead of dropping the project altogether. Did Skinner do another crazy experiment? Is there anything else that's impossible but he turned into reality? What became of his research? Did he not want to keep the pigeons he worked hard on for 4 years to himself? The Project Pigeon was not the end of Skinner's career, or even the most remarkable thing about it. After taking his leave from war affairs, Skinner dedicated himself to his research on behaviorism. He had an innovative approach to understanding and influencing behavior. His contribution to the field of psychology is truly epic. Today, every psychology student is aware of his name and the importance of his work in understanding human and animal psychology. Over the years, after Project Pigeon, he designed several devices that used feedback processes to encourage learning. He made a machine in 1954 that was able to teach arithmetic to young people, and in 1957, he designed a machine that taught Harvard students the basic natural sciences. Moreover, his psychological ideas have been incorporated into many educational software programs in recent years. You can even thank him for the idea behind self-learning AI of today. The work of Skinner is in the museum along with samples of the Project Pigeon design. It is up for public display because it is very inspiring. If you have visited the American History Museum, you might have seen his teaching machines and the missiles. These machines and missiles are on display in the Science in American Life exhibition. As for the pigeons that he trained, he always saw them as devices, so it was easier for him to part with them. Still, researchers like Skinner are curious people. He did not hand over all the pigeons to the military. He kept 1 or 2 for himself just to see how many years the pigeons would remember their training and behave the way he taught them. Every year, he would test his pigeons to see if they were still sharp, and the pigeons behaved the way he taught them till they died, for 6 years straight. And this was all the knowledge we had on Project Pigeon. Do you think it was brilliance or madness? Do you think the military used these pigeons? Let us know about your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and share this video so that it can reach more people who would like to know about the Project Pigeon as well.